The Eagle has landed. It's been a while since I've said that.
It has been.
And we are back for the season 3 premiere of A Little Off the Top with your favorite hosts,
Hannah
and Noah. We're back at it again.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, A Little Off the Top. Back at it again with the season 3 premiere. Wait, that doesn't make sense. We're not back at it again. With the season premiere a third time, the three-peat. Who knows if we'll ever make it past season 3? No, I'm just kidding. Who knows? Yeah.
Who
anyway, how you been? It's been a while. Like we haven't talked to each other because we're husband and wife, but it's been a while. It's been a while since we've talked behind microphones to each other.
We've both been sick.
Yes, we both got sick at the beginning of the year.
It was wild. We came back to Nebraska from being home for a couple of weeks, and literally December 31st or whatever, like New Year's Eve, I started feeling gross because I was on call that night and I was like, please don't call me. Yep. And January 1st, it hit me like a freight train.
Yep. And then you had it for about a week.
No,
before,
I had it.
No. I'm saying, I guess it was longer than that before I got sick.
Yeah. I literally started feeling better on January 11th.
That's right.
And then you started feeling gross.
I got gross. Now, I was lucky that it did not last as long for me. I was pretty much hit like a freight train for a couple of days, and then that was about it. I was good after that. So
lucky duck.
Yeah. I mean, knock on wood, but like I pretty consistently get sick like once a year, and it's like I get hit like a truck or hit like a freight train, whatever, and then I'm good. A little, like couple days. Couple days and I'm good.
Yeah. Usually mine lasts at least a week. This one just really lingered.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough, and I was trying to help as much as I could. So.
Yeah, you were awesome. Neither one of us got tested for anything just because it doesn't change how we were treated, but just about everybody in my department ended up with the flu. Yeah. So that's what I'm assuming mine was.
Influenza A.
Mm-hmm. So much fun.
So fun. But we're past that now.
Yeah.
And
finally feeling human again.
Yeah, we're I'm only human after all. But we're here. A lot has happened since we did our last episode. Christmas happened. Mm-hmm. Well, our last episode, I guess, was that bonus episode that came out on Christmas. But, since we've recorded a full-on episode, I did that by myself, the little bonus episode one day. But since we've recorded a full-on episode, we've had Christmas. We went home for a couple of weeks.
Drove through an ice storm in Iowa.
Ice storm in Iowa, and then sat on the highway for 2 hours because 2 semis had wrecked in said ice storm. Mm-hmm. I played a mediocre gig in St. Louis. I played fine, but there was no one there. It was just
the turnout was awful.
It was awful. The place was cool. My book came out.
It did.
It finally came out.
And you finally got a physical copy.
I have a physical copy finally, and others have a physical copy, and that's very exciting. Yeah. You can find it. You can find it on Amazon or the Barnes & Noble website. The name again is Scribbles and Notes. I don't believe there is a single other book that name, so it's pretty easy to find by N. Barber. It's a collection of poetry, like I had said before, so that's very exciting. That came out. The Christmas album came out as well. Mm-hmm. I think that came out while we were still doing episodes, but we're both well on our way in our health journeys and stuff like that.
And you turned 31.
I turned 31. That's right.
You did.
I feel it. The next morning when I woke up, I felt it immediately. My bones are old.
You're so stupid.
I'm fading away.
I love you, but you're so stupid.
I'm the crypt keeper from Tales from the Crypt now.
You got a couple pretty cool birthday gifts.
I did. I got some cool birthday gifts. You gave me a very sweet book that's 31 reasons
31 things I love about you.
31 things you love about me, and it was pictures with little captions. A little photo book is very sweet. Made me very happy. And then you bought me a very nice leather wallet because I needed a new wallet, and it has my initials on it. Mm-hmm. That was very cool as well.
Got that beauty from Etsy.
Yeah. Etsy's a good spot to get stuff.
Yes, it is.
And our dog is acting like a crackhead at our feet while we're trying to record. She's got some Himalayan yak cheese that doesn't stink.
Ryan.
And Nick.
And Nick.
And others who have said things, and it's not true. I will not take the yak cheese slander. But we're here. We've got a fun segment, a new segment for folks. First, how you doing? How's it been? How's it feel to be back behind the mic?
Feels good to be back behind the mic.
Does it?
I've kind of missed it, yeah.
We tried to do a video episode, but technology was stupid, so we're doing audio only.
I need to clean more stuff off of my phone. It's like, you don't have enough storage. Well, it's hard to have enough storage when you also do TikTok and Instagram, and you're trying to branch into other things. Yeah,
and TikTok's back.
Yeah.
It was only gone for the blink of an eye.
It was gone for about 12 hours.
Yeah, but it's back.
Yeah.
We're back, baby.
I mean, it's back for now. We'll see.
We're back, baby.
I don't have much faith in our government.
We're back, baby. Let's not get political.
I'm not trying to get political.
Yeah, right.
I'm just saying.
You're trying to bring up the government?
I don't have faith in any of them.
All right, anyway.
Who invited the man-child?
I don't know. I'm over 160 pounds down. That's exciting.
That is exciting.
You're over 80 pounds, almost 90 pounds.
Yeah, I'm at 88 pounds.
Gone.
So 12 more pounds to hit the 100 pounds gone.
Yep, that's right. Crazy.
It is crazy.
Exciting stuff. All right, we're stretching this. We watched a terrible movie today.
We did.
We watched the new Mark Wahlberg film, Flight Risk. And let me tell you, Mark Wahlberg without hair
is a little scary.
He doesn't look near as good as he does with hair. Hair helps him a lot.
I hope he never goes bald.
Yeah, I don't think he will. He's too old now.
He's got a good head of hair.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. I wish people could see the hat I'm wearing right now.
It took me, your Smokey Bear hat.
Smokey Bear hat. It's a corduroy hat with a Smokey Bear patch right in the middle. I found it at Target, surprisingly. Mm-hmm. And it's great. I love it. My collection of hats is growing. This has been all over the place. Go ahead. Sorry.
It took me too long to realize that one of the main three actors in that movie was the main kid from that 70s show.
Yeah, Topher Grace, yeah.
Because I'm looking at him like, why does this guy look so familiar? Yeah, and like some of his mannerisms and stuff, I was like, he's from something that I've watched everything of. And sure enough,
he was basically just playing Eric from, I think that's his name in the show. So. Yeah. He was basically just playing that, but a guy who was an accountant for bad people, but him. So like if Eric Foreman grew up and became an accountant for a crime boss
guy or whatever.
All right, let's get into the segment. How about that?
Sure.
All right, here we go.
Hello, healthcare, my worst friend. I don't want to talk to you again.
Another banger of a bumper.
You know it.
Another banger of a bumper.
So the idea of this one came from us just talking about stupid things that has happened to us in our professional lives.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I said, I'm a part of some Facebook pages for X-ray, CT techs, whatever. Yeah. I bet you if I reached out to him and was like, tell me your most embarrassing stories, that most of them would share it.
I guarantee. Yeah.
And sure enough,
they came out the woodworks.
They did.
You got a ton of comments.
I got so many comments, and it's so funny because some things that have happened to me in my professional life that I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely an isolated experience, was not an isolated experience at all. And it's great. So this whole segment is going to be talking about oops and embarrassment and goofiness and some stupidity and that happened specifically to people in healthcare.
And I think this is something that we're gonna reoccur because we can definitely get more comments like this. I mean, we may even have people that we know personally that would talk about, like, we could get clips from and stuff like that too. So
yeah, that'd be fun.
And healthcare, I also think of it as we have a friend who works in veterinarian medicine, who I'm sure has some stories.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, he's told us one that was wild. So I'm sure he has some other ones. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
And all of these, I'm going to go ahead and say this just because we just had HIPAA training at the hospital. None of this is breaking HIPAA. Yeah. So before anybody comes for us in the comments, as someone who has went through extensive training on HIPAA, none of this is going to be breaking HIPAA.
No real names of the patients, no names of
locations, no dates, no personal information.
It's literally just about oopsies that happened. Like, for instance, I've seen the TikToks that are like, what's the stupidest thing you ever said to a patient? It was like, all right, now can you see how many fingers I'm holding up or something?
And the patient's blind.
Yeah, things like that. Like, these are those types of stories. We don't know anything except for the funny story. We don't know the people involved or anything. Your flowers are blooming nicely.
They are, and they're pretty.
Except the roses. Those are dying. Anyway.
I'm going to kick this off with a favorite story from a friend of mine where they were trying to do a portable chest x-ray in the ER, and they went to go sit them up, and they said, okay, I need you to scoot yourself up, bend your knees and scoot yourself up in the bed. And the patient was a double amputee. Like mid-femur, double amputee. And they flipped their blanket off and they said, I ain't got no legs. Just like that. And my friend promptly turned about 50 shades of red. Yeah. And was like, I am so sorry. But you couldn't tell with all those blankets on it. Sure. There was no sign that that was... And I guess she didn't go digging into his chart and see that. Right. Because there's no reason for her to. Right.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. So that's my personal favorite is just... And that poor guy apparently had things like that said to him before.
I'm
because to be ready to just rip your own blanket off and be like, I ain't got no legs. Like he was ready to roll. Sure. It made me think when she told me that, it made me think of Forrest Gump.
But Lieutenant Dan, you ain't got no legs.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure it was intentional on the patient's part for that. Oh yeah. But every time I have a bad day in radiology, I think about that, and I'm like, well, I didn't do something that stupid today.
Right. That's hilarious.
All right. Top comment. Okay, so first I'm going to read what I posted that people are responding to.
Sure.
And it says, traveling x-ray / CT tech here. My husband and I also do a podcast about anything and everything. We were talking about doing a segment where we discussed embarrassing things we have said and done or has been done to us, especially professionally. Now I know with all the members of this group that there is a ton of stories. If you don't mind sharing your story, I would love to share them on our podcast. I won't share names or locations. Thank you all. I look forward to all the laughter I'm going to have while reading the insanity that is going to be in the comments. And one of the very first top comments says, there was a time when I was a student just starting out and I was trying to do a chest x-ray on this guy. Had him lined up for a PA, which means that his chest is up against the chessboard and she's looking at him from the back.
Okay.
So had him lined up for the PA, and me being me, clumsy as can be, tripped over my own feet and landed straight on my butt. The patient then just looked over at me and didn't even ask if I was okay. I'll never forget that day. Someone commented and to her and said, I didn't fall, so they had an experience very similar to this, but I about knocked myself out. I lined up the bucky, then centered the patient, and then proceeded to turn around and smack right into the tube.
Oh no.
I've had an experience like that.
Now explain tube to people.
The x-ray tube. So that's what we're shooting the x-rays out of.
Okay.
It's the
thing you stand away.
It's the camera.
Right.
Yep. And then the bucky is what is capturing the x-rays and holds the picture.
The bucky?
Yeah.
It's
the upright wall bucky.
Yeah.
So like if you're doing a chest x-ray and they say, go put your chest up against the board, that's what that's called. It's the bucky. It's
the beaver.
Yeah, that's it. Except for it's BUCKY.
Right.
It's the bucky board. For whatever reason, that's what holds the cassettes. And, you know, back in the day, the cassettes was what held the film.
It's pronounced Busey with the with the gas station. I actually found a little article of some too, if you want to go back and forth a little bit.
Okay.
If I find any that are funny, I'll read. I'll say I've got one. Like this one right here. A woman in Arkansas brought her baby in to see the doctor, and he determined right away the baby had an earache. He wrote a prescription for ear drops. In the directions he wrote, put 2 drops in right ear every 4 hours, and he abbreviated right with an R with a circle around it. Several days passed, and the woman returned with her baby, complaining that the baby still had an earache, and his little behind was getting really greasy from all those drops. The doctor looked at the bottle of ear drops, and sure enough, the pharmacist had typed the following instructions on the label. Put 2 drops in capital R space ear every 4 hours.
Oh, no.
So she was putting drops on the baby's butt, thinking... Stupid. All right, anyway. Well, common mistake, I guess.
Yeah. So I didn't have an experience where I either fell in front of the patient or turned around and just ran into the x-ray tube.
Mm-hmm.
But one time I was trying to line up someone, and they're standing up against the upright bucky, and I was lining them up for a lateral knee x-ray. So I was bent down, knee level.
Right.
Making sure that they were straight.
Now, lateral would be coming from the side, like?
Yes.
Right?
Yep. So like either their left or their right side is up against the board.
Got it.
And the x-ray is shooting into the opposite side.
Yeah. And I know this stuff because you've told me, but I'm making sure that people understand, like, that are listening.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's probably self-explanatory, but I'm making it.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
sorry.
I had a hand, with a finger basically on either side of her knee, making sure that the condyles of your femur, the 2 big bones that form the knee joint, were straight, and did not realize where I was in concordance with the x-ray tube. And I came up and I was under the tube and I hit the bottom of it. Now, this is a solid tungsten, heavy, hard metal thing. And I came up hard. I didn't know that the term saw stars or was seeing stars was an actual thing. I thought that was something made up for movies until I did it. And I legitimately saw stars. And I had to go, I went and sat down, and the patient was like, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. Just give me just a second. Probably had a concussion from it, but
I have seen stars before as well, and I same thing. Whenever it happened, I was like, "Oh, that's real. Okay, that's real."
Yep.
And it happened in a football game while I'm I hit heads with a guy, came up, was seeing stars, but
the play was still going.
Yeah, so I had to get up and run. Little white dots are floating everywhere. I'm like, ugh. And then have to keep playing. It's rough. It's like. And I know people have done this plenty of times, but when you bang your head getting in the car or something, there is nothing worse. There's 2 things that suck so much when they happen. Hitting your head on anything at all and a foot cramp. Because both of those, it's like, this is how I die. That's it. There's nothing to fix a foot cramp. Like if your calf cramps, you can straighten out your leg. You can push your heel down and point your toes, and it helps. But a foot cramp, there's nothing.
There's nothing
it's
you can
just
do.
Like, this is it.
So you being a guy, you've never experienced this, but apparently, and not every woman experiences this, but apparently there is a small group of women or percentage of women that whenever they're on their period, that sometimes they have this random cramp, and it literally feels like someone stabbing you in your tailbone. And it's like you go to sit down and you're springing back up because it hurts so bad. It only lasts for a couple of seconds, but I swear it feels like someone has impaled you in your butthole.
Your ring of fire.
Yes. So I'm going to throw that in there. Like that's the top 3 pains.
Well, I mean,
for me,
another one for guys, they say that, getting hit in your groin is like those types of pains.
Yeah.
Like I this one is pretty funny, and I'm sure it's just a one-liner joke, but it is funny. An elderly patient became irate during a medical examination when he peeked at the doctor's chart and saw that the doctor had written major SOB underlined at the bottom. The physician stopped him mid-rant by saying major shortness of breath, but now they both apply.
So, funny thing about that, I had my first year of x-ray school, my clinical instructor refused to let us use SOB as a shortening for shortness of breath because it made her think of SOB in that way.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she's like, it's unprofessional. And I was like, it is literally a medical like shortening of that.
Yeah.
And she's like, none of my students are going to use it.
Goodness
so
gracious.
we couldn't do it. Not in our notes.
People are silly.
Yep. This patient said, this tech said, I once went to sit in the rolly chairs we have to start an IV and missed.
Oh no.
That was fun.
I have missed a rolly chair before, and yeah, that's I'll save. You keep going. I'll save this for in a little
All
while.
right. When I was an MRI student, I used to say to the patient when I was done scanning, you're all done. I'll come in there and get you off.
Oh, yikes.
It didn't realize, and then one day it clicked how that sounded.
Yeah.
I bet you her patient started laughing.
Sure, yeah.
And that was when the light bulb turned on.
Yeah.
She's like, you know what? Probably shouldn't use this anymore.
It makes me think about, there's been so many times we hear clips from like sports announcers and stuff, and you're like, without context, this is rough.
This is dirty.
This is rough. Like yeah. I mean, that's a little risque for our podcast, but it is. I mean, I mean, think about how many times you've said something in no context, and you're just like, oh, oops.
Oh,
like, that sounds.
Well, yeah. Me myself as a tech, I have 100% said to somebody, okay, you can go ahead and pull your pants up. We're all done here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, oh, yikes. Okay.
And I'm just like.
That sounds wrong.
Probably should reword this.
This one's pretty funny. It says, when I was doing home health, I had a patient who was very demanding and could be outright rude at times. At one point, she had a terrible stomach virus, which made her a daily patient for a while. Of course, I got stuck with her while she was daily. One morning, I went in and she was sitting at the kitchen counter looking positively green around the gills. I said, "Are you all right?" And she looked me dead in the eyes and said, and I'm wording this a little different. Heck no, that doctor is going to have to do something about these dang pills he gave me. They're too big to swallow, and I have to cut them in half. And to top it all off, they're slimy and made me gag when I try to get them down. I nearly died laughing when I realized that the pills were glycerin suppositories.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they're slimy for a reason, ma'am.
That's intentional.
Yep, there's a point for that.
Oh, man.
Oh, my.
As a new tech, I had a humerus x-ray on a man with above the elbow amputation. So for a humerus x-ray, you get from shoulder joint to elbow joint. That is the whole humerus bone.
Yeah, right.
And, with an above the elbow amputation, obviously you're not going to get that elbow joint, but you still have to worry about positioning for the top part because different ways you move your arm opens and closes your shoulder joint.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where her frustration comes because she still has to get that shoulder position even though she doesn't have a lower arm to work with. All right. I was trying so hard to plan my words on explaining how to internally rotate his arm. So imagine you're standing with your arm completely straight out with your palm up.
Okay.
So your palm is facing out.
Out, right.
Internally rotating is basically where you turn your arm over where the back of your hand is touching your leg.
Okay. Gotcha.
That is an internal rotation.
Okay, so a full rotation
Yes.
and your back of your hand is touching your leg.
So patient standing there but doesn't have that lower arm.
Yeah.
How are you going to explain twisting your arm? You know what I mean? When there's not most of that arm to twist.
Take your elbow pit and turn it towards
Well, it's an above the elbow amputation.
There's no elbow.
So there's no elbow. But you still have to get that position to show the shoulder.
Right.
Yeah.
Take your nub. No. It's not going to work.
So I was trying hard to plan my words on explaining how to internally rotate his arm, which is kind of putting the back of your hand on your hip almost, but without a forearm/hand. So I kind of showed him what I wanted him to do, decided, F this, I'll just shoot it and hope for the best. Shot the picture, realized I collimated, so she closed the x-ray. It's collimators, which is basically shutters on the inside of the x-ray tube that will either widen or narrow the beam.
Right.
And you do that so that you're not exposing more of the patient to the x-ray photons than what is necessary. Right. And so she collimated a little too much, which means she clipped part of the anatomy because the collimation was so tight. And so she went back out and said, hey, sorry, I'll have to take that one again. I cut off the bottom of your arm.
Oh.
To an amputee.
Oh.
Insert awkward silence. I'm usually the person that always has something to say, even in weird situations. Nothing. He stared at me. I stared at him. I just opened my collimators and walked away.
He looked at me. And I looked at him. He looked at me. I found a Reddit post from 4 years ago where someone asked on r/nursing, what's the most embarrassing thing you've done as a nurse? Top comment. I glued a patient's butt crack together with ostomy paste.
Oh, no.
Husband handed it to me instead of the tube of butt cream. In my defense, I just randomly answered the call light for bedpan help and didn't know anything about the patient. And somebody responded to that and said, I was giving a patient an enema and didn't realize that the tip at the end was a cap. And it sucked it up in there. And so the GI team was basically like, just let it pass naturally. Like, it's got to come out of there.
Well, if it was small enough, yeah.
Right. But
oh my gosh.
And
how
then somebody else responded and said, now, you know, I've had people mud puddle the bed before, and I didn't ever think of this solution of the gluing it together.
I'm going to take care of this.
I hope this isn't too gross for people. We gave a disclaimer. It's healthcare. There's got to be some grossness.
There's going to be grossness.
Yeah, that's just... All right.
I also had a patient in the ER for a 2-view chest, which means that we're doing the PA and lateral, so a front view and a side view.
Okay.
Doing the PA, so patient's back is to her. We were just going to swing her legs off the side of the stretcher and pull her up to the bucky. So they've got the stretcher up where all of the patient has to do is swing and grab this bucky. Me, do you need some help to swing your legs off the side? Patient, and she just inserted the emoji where it's like a frowny emoji. It says she was super tiny, went to scoop her legs, got my hand under one, patted the bed for the other. She flipped back the blanket and said, I ain't got another.
Oh.
Why did I pat the bed?
Is there?
Well, yeah. It's like, where's it at? Where are you at?
Where's that leg at? Come on. Where's it at? Oh, I'm sure people are going to love me patting the microphone. Good Lord. I'm a professional.
But it's so funny that she scooped her hand under and then proceeded to try to pat the bed to find the other one.
Goodness gracious. This, on that same post from Reddit, it says, working in the ER, the doctor comes in the exam room. I accidentally pulled the rolling stool out from under the doctor as he was sitting on it. He fell right on the floor, looked straight at the patient and said, she does that to me all the time.
Oh, at least the doctor was a good sport about it.
Right. He just was like, she does that to me all the time.
That doctor was good at thinking on his butt.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't on his feet.
Right.
Same commenter. I clearly have entirely too many. Went in to do a portable chest x-ray on a patient. He's laying there sleeping, mouth wide open, like a lot of them do. I announced myself, told him I was there for his chest x-ray. He didn't respond, which isn't completely out of the ordinary. I lifted him up, so she, sat the bed up, put my board behind him. He was super cold. Again, not completely out of the ordinary. I asked him to take a breath in, and here comes in the nurse saying, "Oh, did you not see the dove on the door?" I was like, no, what's that for? And she goes, "Oh, he passed away."
Oh, no.
I meant to call you.
Oh, no.
So here she is just manhandling this corpse.
That kind of goes along with this. It says,
"Oh, no.
Lost my pants during a code, doing chest compressions, and they just hit the ground. Entire ICU, chaplains, house up, docs, family, everyone right there."
I read something on, I think it was on a TikTok post, where apparently somebody was like kind of hurriedly running down the hall to get to a code that had been called, and their pants dropped while they're running. Oof. And so they just continued to run with their pants around their ankle because they didn't want to take the time to stop and pull it off.
This also goes with the one that you said, the patting the bed thing. It says, "I went into the room for a new ER admit to help out a coworker and do the admission. I didn't know anything about him. He was kind of already tucked into bed when I went into the room. Started asking the typical questions and realized he's a dialysis patient, so I figured I should get an accurate weight with the standing scale. I said, 'Give me 1 minute, I'll be right back.' I came back with the scale and simultaneously say, 'I just need to get your weight while you're standing up.' As I pull back the covers and see he has bilateral above the knee amputations. Said, 'Well,' as I died of embarrassment and pulled the covers back up and just got a weight on the bed. He was oriented, but luckily it didn't seem to faze him. I'll never forget that."
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like,
yeah.
All right, we need to just get you to stand up so we can get it.
You get into a pattern.
Sure.
I mean, your brain is not automatically looking for all of the outliers.
Right. It makes me think, and this is a stupid example, but it makes me think of that video where that lady, it's in like a Whataburger drive-thru, and she walks up and she has the drink. She goes to hand it to him and turns it over and spills it all.
Like
and she
it was
goes,
a Dairy Queen.
She goes, "I used to work at Dairy Queen, sorry," and just walks off. And I think it's completely real. Like I think it was completely
I remember
real.
that video. Yeah. I'm 90% sure that was a real video.
"I used to work at Dairy Queen, sorry."
I was a student at a very busy outpatient clinic. It was right near the end of my clinical day, and the technologist asked me to go to the lobby and grab one more patient before I left. They sent me to call for Miss Dover, Eileen Dover.
Oh, no.
Needless to say, I didn't catch on, and the techs plus everyone in the lobby got a good laugh at my expense.
We used to do those types of names at places. They'd be like, "What's the name for your order?" And we'd be like, "Hugh Jazz." And they'd be like, "You get it."
Yeah.
This one,
someone commented
Sorry.
with a little bit after
Okay.
that. It says, "I set up a student with Abby Normal one time, and a fellow tech with Ophelia Balls."
Yikes. Do you know what Abby Normal is a reference to?
Mm-mm.
It's the movie Young Frankenstein with Gene Wilder. So he tells Igor to go steal a brain. And I believe he tells him, like, I can't remember, but he tells him to go steal a brain from the morgue, basically. And he goes in there and he accidentally grabs one that is labeled abnormal. And he doesn't know, and he comes back. He's like, "I got the brain," and you know they do the experiment. I'm remembering this completely off, so I could have but basically he's like, "What brain did you get?" And he goes, "Abby something, Abby," and he goes, "Abnormal? Yeah, that's it, Abby Normal, Abby Normal. That's the brain I got." And he's like, "You idiot!" Like
I feel like I've seen that scene before.
It's very famous, and my grandpa and aunt used to reference it all the time.
I'm sure it's right up their alley with their humor.
Fantastic movie. We have to watch it. I forgot that you have not seen that movie. We have to find it.
So there's a couple more comments to that particular comment
go ahead.
that kind of goes with it. Says, "I didn't do it, but way back in the day in a former place I used to work at, we occasionally had to run our reprocessing for our sterile aspiration trays and sterile glass tubes. One tech was always good at getting fresh students to run to reprocessing for stacked sterile fallopian tubes." A fallopian tube is...
Oh, duh. Yep.
The ovary to the...
We got a kid in high school. We told him, two different jokes. One of them was a freshman where we were like, "Hey, can you go get the bucket of curveballs?" And he searched for forever. We were like, it's labeled curveballs. It's easy to find. You just go find it. And he searched for forever. And then another one was told a guy to find the left-footed kicking tees. And they're labeled with an L on them for left foot. And
that's great.
He searched for forever. I mean, good.
We had a tech send our assistant in his first week over to CT for extra fallopian times for fluoro. The nurse he encountered still remembers explaining that one to him.
This one says, it just keeps getting worse. This one is a little, it's not super long, but it says, squatted down to empty a Foley in a Comfort Care's room and uncontrollably farted. It was at that moment there was a natural pause in conversation, so the entire family heard it rip. Went to help a coworker change a patient, and she asked what size gloves I needed. I said large because I got these big man hands, and wiggles the fingers. Turned to find her patient didn't have arms below the elbows.
Oh no.
New grad me was holding up a large syringe giving a patient meds by gravity through their PEG tube. The patient coughed and instantaneously the tube disconnected and meds, water, tube, feed, stomach contents were everywhere.
Oh, no.
The patient spent the rest of our 3 shifts together giving me crap and telling everyone who entered the room what I had done. I learned after that to hold it by the tube and not the syringe. I don't think a shift went by without me doing something clumsy or embarrassing, but these moments will forever haunt me in great detail. And a Comfort Care, that's like hospice, right? So can you just imagine? It's like, hey, I just need it. I'm just gonna clean this up real quick.
Yep,
I got it. Like that's what I picture, and and they're just like, so.
I have 100% been bending over to help somebody with something and have farted. And luckily, it's always been to little old patients that do not have really good hearing. Uh-huh. And either they have been gracious and have not said anything, or they didn't hear me.
Oh man. I've farted plenty of times in situations where, luckily, I do a lot of music, right? Mm-hmm. Music's loud. Mm-hmm. Loud enough to cover up things that happen while I'm on stage. The only thing I've ever worried about is anyone else on stage smelling this way?
Right.
Are they nice enough to think that somebody in the crowd has farted, or I don't know, but I've never had anyone in any band I've been in go, did you fart while we were up there?
If I ever notice that someone's face is making they're crinkled, I'm gonna be like, yep, no, it just farted.
No. Speaking of that, random tangent, but the band's going good.
Yeah,
getting a lot of shows and stuff.
It is.
We've added a couple of new members now.
Mm-hmm. You got a fiddle player and a mandolin player now.
Yeah, and a female. She plays guitar and sings as well.
Yeah, and
he sings. So got 3 vocalists in the band now.
It's cool.
Yeah. Very fun. Very fun. Very cool. Can't do that voice right now. Tense on that voice. All right. Anyway.
Being a brand new x-ray tech and taking elbow x-rays on a pediatric patient for the first time. LOL, it was actually a 10-year-old brother and a 7-year-old sister. Both fell playing on a skateboard, complaining of elbow and forearm pain. The doctor called over and asked me how they looked, and I was like, oh man, they both look like crazy buckle fractures, thinking I had any idea what I was talking about. I honestly still cringe to this day, knowing that they were discharged 30 minutes later. I'm sure I have more embarrassing stories or some embarrassing travel stories, but that's just one that'll live with me forever. So I'm going to go out on a limb here. This x-ray tech, if this was the first elbow x-rays that he's ever done on a pediatric patient, because sometimes it's hard to find enough pediatric patients to pass off on everything on.
Yeah.
Kids have growth plates.
Yeah.
And so their bones look different than our bones,
sure.
Because where we have normal joints, they'll have that extra line where the growth plate is growing. And guarantee you he looked at those images, saw that line, and was like, oh man, crazy buccal fracture, when there was in fact no fracture. It was just a growth plate. So I am sure that doctor looked at those images and was like, stupid moron.
This says, obligatory, not me, but great story nonetheless. One of my coworkers, when he was an ER tech, was told to shave an STMI patient's groin, which I looked that up, and that means ST elevation myocardial infarction. So, and that's considered the most deadly heart attack.
Yeah.
I
think that's otherwise known as the widowmaker.
Right, yeah. He was told to shave that type of patient's groin.
Yeah.
Shaved the wrong patient.
Oh, no.
Poor patient didn't speak English, so probably had no clue why the heck they were shaving his pubic hair when he came in for leg pain.
Now, do you know why they would have shaved?
No idea.
Because they're potentially going to need femoral access to run a line up into the heart.
Got it.
And
that makes sense. But poor guy didn't speak English, so he's like, I came in for leg pain. Why are they shaving my crotch right now?
Poor guy. Oh my goodness,
man.
Poor guy.
I can't imagine. Actually, I can slightly imagine, but we won't get into that. So
that's why it's
that
really
sounded so weird.
Yeah. I was just gonna let it go.
Whatever. Anyway, it has to do with I had a medical procedure done. That's all. That's it's not anything outside of that. It was a medical procedure done, and I didn't understand what was happening because I was delirious from meds. All right. Anyway, everybody sounded like they weren't speaking English. Anyway,
that's why it's really important to have translators. And what's really cool now is there are programs that have literally every single language.
Right. Yeah.
That's
right.
A written language or a known language.
Yeah.
That they have access to translators. So you just go in, you log in, and you pick what language it is, and you hand the patient a tablet, and that translator comes on, and you tell them what they need, and they tell the patient, and go back and forth.
Have you seen those headphones that are like AI translator headphones?
I have. I've not seen them in practice anywhere, but I have seen them on social media.
I've just seen videos of them, but it's really interesting because apparently it picks up on the language and then translate it to, you set it to your native language, and it translates to your native language in your ear, which is so fascinating. I'm sure there are some ways that it doesn't. I mean, it's like Google Translate. It's not going to be perfect. But
it literally sounds like something from Star Trek.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it does. Yeah. I only have one more on here that I thought was worth reading. I'm sure you have plenty more.
Oh, yeah.
So go ahead and read some, and then I'll do this little short one. Where are we at right now? We're about at the 43-minute mark, so we got 10-ish more minutes, and then we can call it an episode. This has been flowing really well. Yeah. It's a good first episode back. This is a good segment. This has caused some good conversation. Let us know if you like it. You know how you do that? Join the Patreon.
Easiest way to do it.
That's the easiest way to say what you think of the episodes is join the Patreon. Now that we're back with season 3, we're going to try to be more active on there. It's free to join. The link is in the show notes. We did a giveaway on there recently, and a big congratulations to our winners there, Lindsay and Brian. Lindsay won a bag of fresh roasted coffee from yours truly and a sticker. And Brian won a really cool drawing that Hannah did and a sticker. Did you take a picture after you colored it?
Not after I colored it. I have a picture of it in black and white.
Yeah. Should have taken a picture so we could post it on said Patreon. That's okay.
Yeah. What you do is you reach out to Brian and you're like, hey, Brian.
Send me a picture after
Post
you've got
about it.
Yeah, sure. We also have a Facebook page. Go find us on Facebook. We have a very sporadically active TikTok that I didn't really try on building because TikTok
we were told it was going to be banned.
It's so in the air, honestly.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of like, TikTok's hard to build a page. It takes a long time, and I'm kind of like, it's a lot of work. I got a lot of other irons in the fire, if we're honest. So, but join the Patreon. Completely free. You'll get a little extra content. And maybe we'll do another giveaway before long. We did do a nice little National Trivia Day thing that popped up that we did a little, ask a couple questions, you get a free sticker. The person who answered first already was getting some stuff, so he just got another sticker. But yeah, so anyway, let's enough of plugging. Let's get back to it.
As a young x-ray student, I was taking a normal chest x-ray on a 40-year-old, and we were using plates that you had to manually put in the reader so it was loud. This is old if they were using actual plates instead of a digital. But anyway, he said, "Wow, you guys are loud in here." I said, "Yeah, there's a lot of banging down here."
Yikes.
Internally, I just sighed and thought, why? Why?
Goodness gracious.
Inpatient arrives in the x-ray room via wheelchair and transporter. I introduce myself. "Hi, my name is Rose, like the flower." He responds, "I'm a flower too. I'm a bloomin' idiot." And we both just burst out laughing.
Goodness gracious.
That's sometimes patients say stuff that just in that moment, it catches you off guard and you're just like, I could hug you right now.
Right.
It's perfect. I was a student and an order for a coccyx, which is the end of your tailbone.
Right.
Comes over from the ER. I'm all over it for a comp. It was a 20-year-old something female. I got her doing my proper identification steps. I get her in the room and I try to get a history. "Did you fall?" No answer. "How did you injure yourself?" No answer. I turn to look at her thinking she's not hearing me, and then I notice she is super red in the face. She has her head down and she finally speaks. "My boyfriend and I were trying for a lunch quickie and he got carried away."
Oh no. Yikes.
That is, I would never own up to that.
Yeah. Would
100% make up a story. I'd be like, "Yeah, I fell.
I fell in the shower.
I fell and landed on my butt."
I fell and it slipped.
But they're not looking for a foreign body.
Sure.
It's just she has tailbone pain. So she could have easily said, "I fell down a flight of steps."
Sure. Yeah, I tripped and fell down the stairs.
Yeah. And would have been a whole lot easier. Like, I understand being honest with a healthcare professional, and honestly, honesty is the best policy.
Sure.
But things like that, you would not be able to pay me enough to be honest about it.
This episode's a little PG-13 compared to our usual PG.
Sorry.
I got one for you here. I was attempting to irrigate a clogged catheter with some students.
Oh, no.
I forgot to uncap the syringe and was really struggling with the irrigation before I pushed it super hard, and it all flew back right at me. Urine started flowing, though, so all in all, it worked out.
Oh, no.
But it all just went right onto them in front of students.
That's great.
I guess it makes you humanized to the students, though. Like, the students aren't like, "Oh, I got to be perfect in front of them." Like,
and that's when you look at them and be like, "Well, it'll be a while before you forget to uncap a syringe."
Yep, that's life.
I had a below-the-knee amputee. There are so many stories with amputees.
Goodness gracious.
I think it's probably because we have to do so much imaging.
Yeah.
And typically, they're coming for their trouble spots,
Right.
I had a below-the-knee amputee and a below-the-elbow amputee who went to get off of the x-ray table after x-raying the nub, and I asked him if he needed a hand, trying to be courteous because I forgot. This man, with all seriousness, looks me dead in the eyes and says, "Yes, I wouldn't mind a leg if you've got one as well." I was mortified, humored, and upset with myself all at the same time.
That's amazing.
I love it when they have a good sense of humor, though.
Absolutely.
I asked, "Which leg are we looking at?" And the patient said, "The only one I have."
That's pretty good.
I was an ultrasound student when a male patient came in for a testicular ultrasound. He said to the tech and I just want you ladies to know that I was in the pool. I tried to be professional, but as a Seinfeld fan, I could not contain my laughter.
Shrinkage. That's yep. Pretty good. That's funny. I just want you ladies to know I was in the pool. I went swimming. Goodness.
Sorry.
It's okay.
A little tickled there.
Yep.
When I was a student on my very first clinical rotation, that was in fluoroscopy. Okay, so fluoroscopy is x-rays, but it is a live video footage.
Right.
And that's where you watch things such as like hip injections, barium swallows where you're watching someone's swallow function.
Right.
Things like that.
Yeah.
So it's not just a static picture. It's live video footage.
Sure.
So first clinical rotation that was in fluoroscopy, the tech asked me to watch her do a VCUG. And before I tell you the wrong thing, because I do not do a lot of fluoroscopy, and I want to make sure that I'm saying this correctly, that is avoiding cystourethrogram. Sorry.
Okay.
It's an X-ray procedure that examines the urinary tract and bladder while a patient urinates. And they actively have to lay there and urinate while they're urinating, like the contrast and stuff, and they watch that under a light. Yeah. They also have one where they have to watch them poop, but we're not talking about this one. This one's just peeing.
Okay. Just pee.
Yes. This was my first everything. First day, first time. I was in a rad department. I mean, everything. So I put my lead on and my thyroid shield, and I was holding the patient's hand as she was getting her catheter placed. I passed out. And I ended up passing out because my thyroid shield was too tight around my neck.
I passed out and I hit the ground, but I had a praying grandma.
We had a
out of context, people are going to be like, what is he talking about?
Had a, what was she? I think she was a high school student. So here in this town, they have a program where the high school students that are interested in healthcare can come and basically like rotate through the different programs and stuff. Really cool. Yeah, it's very cool. I'm thinking she was in a pain procedure, which is where they're doing, most of the time it's back injections. Mm-hmm. So it's, I guess if you're squeamish about needles, it could be a little unnerving because they're spinal needles, so they're real big and long. Mm-hmm. And she ended up passing out in the procedure.
Poor thing.
And needless to say, she did not stick around radiology too much longer after that. Yeah. I wasn't there when that happened. I was told because she came back to the department for something, and when she left, one of the techs was like, "Did you hear?"
Poor thing.
Right. Do I still have time?
You got time. Yeah, let's do a couple more. Okay. I think 2 more will be good.
Okay. At one of my hospitals, we had to write down the patient's height and weight on every patient, like it wasn't already in their actual chart if people would look themselves. Anyways, some places, I will say, some hospitals, they're so used to paper charts and paper reporting that it's almost like they forget that, we have access to all of that information on their online charts.
Right.
And so they're still writing down the most ridiculous stuff. The hospital that I'm currently at is one of those. And you'll write the same thing down in 3 different locations. Yeah. And it's just like, why? It's all in the computer.
Yeah.
But anyway, I always went into flight attendant mode and asked a double amputee how tall he was. Oh. He came back with, I used to be 6 foot. You can't come back from that. LOL. Sadly, I've had so many stories I could tell. I'm funny, but only at my own expense.
All right, last one. Make it a good one.
Okay. I went to get a gentleman out of the lobby for his exam, and I was asking him the standards questions before we did a CT, and he said to me, "Now, if you ask if I'm pregnant, the answer is yes. I'm pregnant with an elephant, and my trunk is starting to show."
Yikes. Oh, my gosh.
What?
Oh, my gosh. Well.
One more.
Okay, that's fine.
Got called in at 3 a.m. Tried to reconnect a lead, so one of the heart leads or whatever, monitor leads, to a patient's chest, and accidentally hooked it to his nipple.
Oh my gosh! I knew that's where that was going. Oh my gosh!
One time I was trying to hook it, and it hooked to the wrong part, and I did a quick little tug to see if it was actually connected, and I pulled the whole sticky part off.
Oh, ouch.
And it was a guy, and he was hairy, and they'd already had issues with it, and he was like, "Ow!" And I was like, "I am so sorry." It's like waxing a bear.
Oh man. Well, on that note, we are going to call it right there.
Yep.
And that is...
A little off the top.
You took my line.
I'm sorry.
With your hosts.
I got excited. Hannah.
And Noah. We are so excited to be back with Season 3. This has been a fun episode. This is a good first episode, I think.
It is.
A lot of good conversation, some funny stories. Definitely the phrase waxing a bear is going to be in the title. I don't know.
I use that frequently when I am taking, because, in CT for outpatients, we have to start our own IVs.
Right, yeah.
And then you have to take them out before you let the patient go.
Sure.
And most of the time when I'm like pulling the tape, I'm making small talk because it seems like it doesn't hurt as bad.
Right, yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to pull this real fast. 1, 2, 3. And I'll be like, hey, at least you're not like some of my patients. I've got some really hairy guys here. And when you pull it off, it's like waxing a bear. And it usually makes people laugh.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Well, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed it, rate us 5 stars, share it with your friends, all that good stuff. And if they didn't, what do, Hannah?
They ignore it.
That's right. Scroll on. Give us 5 stars still. What is it going to hurt you any? Just ignore it after that. There's a million other podcasts out there.
Just keep scrolling.
That's right. But thank you so much for listening. And we're so excited to be back. But that's all for this week. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.